This week, the new effort's underway on a plan that's been talked about for a few years now to raise a relic from the bottom of Lake Champlain, a Revolutionary War gunboat that was part of Benedict Arnold's fleet from the Battle of Valcour, that now, nearly 250 years later, may once again be coming under attack.
I've been doing this work for over 40 years. I've never recommended a boat be recovered until now. We have identified 4 studies that we are ready to do, 4 contracts that we're ready to let, to do our due diligence.
Art Cohn says those studies include plans on how to raise the Spitfire, restore it over several years, and then put it on display at a museum, preferably on the New York side of the lake. All 4 studies, he says, are primed and ready for funding. But first, he says, researchers want to take another dive into the deep waters of the lake to inspect the gunboat.
We have just applied for a permit to inspect the boat again this year, film it, determine what the state of the mussels are.
The fear is that mussels may be a threat.
There's zebra mussels that are here now, and there's a few on the boat. They're not colonized there in the kinds of things that would really cause concern. But I'm working right now in Seneca Lake in the Finger Lakes, 600-foot deep lake. We found 75 shipwrecks there in the last 5 years. They are all encrusted with quagga mussels.
And while quagga mussels have yet to be found in Lake Champlain, like many invasive species, it may only be a matter of time before they reach the lake and the deep water shipwrecks.
So we've got an urgency of time, a little bit of a window to plan. And then we also have the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. And we have a boat that connects us to those formative years and formative principles and all the things we still debate about what we're supposed to be about. And I'd like to think that this boat could be a conduit for those discussions, those lessons, and therefore has an incalculable value to our society and future generations.
And so, Art Cohn and his colleagues now believe the best course of action may be to save this historic relic. Cohn says conserving it and putting it on display could take up to 15 years and cost as much as $40 to $45 million. This past week, Cohn came to the historic chapel on the former Army and Air Force Base in Plattsburgh to talk about the efforts underway.
Would there be local involvement? Yes. But this, first and foremost, we're doing what's right for the boat.
In the audience at this past week's presentation was the Deputy Commissioner for Historic Preservation in New York. The state has expressed an interest in talking with Cohn and his colleagues about the preservation plans, which would also include the U.S. Navy, which by law owns all sunken shipwrecks, including the Spitfire.
But we really see it as a partnership between the Navy and New York State. The boat was built in New York, fought in New York, and sits on New York's bottom land. New York State has a 250th commission that is about to convene, and so this would be the kind of thing I would believe that they would love to see as one of the options on the table for themselves.
One of the Spitfire's sister ships, the Philadelphia, was raised from the lake bottom back in 1935. It is the only ship in Benedict Arnold's fleet to be recovered, and is on display now at the Smithsonian in Washington. Over the past century, there have been major advances in preserving shipwrecks. The lab at the Lake Champlain Maritime Museum restored this anchor from the War of 1812 from the British command ship, the Confiance. It's now on display at City Hall in Plattsburgh. And Cohn believes Plattsburgh would be the ideal location to exhibit the Spitfire at a museum showcasing both the Battle of Valcour and Battle of Plattsburgh during the War of 1812, 2 landmark historic events in the making of our nation. By the way, you can watch Art Cohn's presentation from this past week on our website and YouTube channel.
We clearly want to exhibit and interpret, obviously, the Spitfire and connect the public with that story. But we also have the opportunity to take the Battle of Plattsburgh Bay from 1814, an underappreciated contribution to the nation. And we have the opportunity to interpret that in the same space. And I'm proposing that the exhibit facility be designed to do just that. And I'm also recommending that it happen where the history took place, Clinton County, New York.